Hi, I'm Jimena Fernandez. I'm a postdoc at Swansea University and also a member of the Center of TDA. The goal of my recent research is to develop topological foundations for tools in manifold learning problems. While I focus on the theoretical warranties for my methods, most of my current project is motivated by applications in real problems in neuroscience and dynamics. The first part of my research is about density-based manifold learning and intrinsic persistent homology. Suppose you're given a point cloud in a possible high-dimensional Euclidean space that is support on a smooth compact Riemannian manifold M. And the points are sampled according to a common density F. We will be interested in recovering topological features of M from the sample Xn, in a setting in which both the density and the manifold are assumed to be unknown. A standard approach consists in computing the persistent homology of the sample. Here, the sample is considered as a metric space endowed with some computable metric. Notice that the topological information carried by M remains the same when endowed with any Riemannian metric. However, the output of the computation of persistent homology strongly depends on the particular distance function employed. In a recent work, we consider a computable metric defined over the sample called Fermat distance. This metric is an estimator of certain deformed Riemannian metric on the manifold that takes into account the density. We prove that the sample endowed with the Fermat distance converges metric space to the manifold with this density-based Riemannian structure in the sense of Gromov-Hausdorff. Moreover, by the stability theorem, we deduce the convergence of the associated persistence diagrams. We show that the use of this intrinsic metric in the computation of persistent homology presents some good properties, such as robustness to outliers and less sensitiveness to the particular embedding of the sample. We also made a video tutorial with an introductory presentation of this theory for general scientific public. The second part of my research is dedicated to applications of the previous approach to different problems in nonlinear dynamics and geometric reconstruction of attractors. The first problem is related to time series analysis. Given a signal, we construct its time delay embedding. By Takens theorem, the obtained point cloud is a finite approximation of the attractor of the underlying dynamical system, and global properties of the dynamic can better understood through the topological structure of this invariant set. So we compute the associated intrinsic persistence diagram, and we can see that generators in homology are indicators of different periodic patterns in the time series. And moreover, the analysis of the time-evolving delay embedding produces a path of persistence diagrams whose approximate first derivative presents peaks at every change of pattern. These ideas provide a new method for pattern recognition and anomaly detection of signals. This method was applied to real data of songs of canaries and electrocardiograms, and the code for these applications is open access. Our second application is on the reconstruction of brain neural networks. We study the behavior of a particular type of neurons called grid cells that are present in humans and other mammals. This type of neurons are part of a representation in the brain of a spatial coordinate system. They were discovered by May Reed and Edvard Moser, who were awarded with the Nobel Prize for their work. In the experiment on the left, we can see the recording of the activity of a single grid cell. Every time the neuron fires, the position of the rat is marked in the arena. Surprisingly, these marks accumulate over the time to form an hexagonal grid. Now, different grid cells react in different spatial patterns, and the complete understanding of the global activity of grid cells in the brain is still an open question. A dynamical model based on a recurrently connected continuous attractor network is the most accepted. Under this model, the neural network has an input layer in the hippocampus projecting feed-forward to a layer of grid cells in the medial and terminal cortex. The synaptic activation of every grid cell is determined by a system of differential equations in which the connectivity pattern between grid cells plays a central role. However, it is still not known what's the topology of the connectivity pattern of grid cells. It's conjectured that they have a toroidal connectivity imitating the firing pattern. However, this assumption does not have a physiological support. In a work in progress, we discover alternative topology for the connectivity of grid cells that produce homeomorphic attractors. To obtain this result, we prove that the geometry of the attractor associated to this dynamic is a torus. We use different tools derived from persistent homology. Finally, we also show that the global activity of grid cells allows to recover the connectivity pattern of them in the brain. We're excited to apply this result in experimental data.